Welcome to episode 9 of Soccerheads New England. And here's where I do my plugs for the show. Check us out. We've got a new Facebook page. We've got a new website. We've got Twitter. Or you can email soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com. And please share us with your friends. How's that? The plug. Before we even get into the show, we plug. And I'm Dave Rattigan. Jim Ruberti, who this week has decided he's going to show up, which is great. He's taken more days off than Manny Ramirez from this show, but he made the trek today to Cape Cod, from Cape Cod, all the way to Seaside Beverly, to our Seaside Beverly studios. It's not actually on the sea, but we're across from a cemetery, so that's close. It's an interesting story, guys. Van Halen, the brothers Van Halen, during David Lee Roth's audition, they weren't that impressed by his voice, but they loved his sound system. And that's how David Lee Roth became a member of Van Halen. And now, many years later, here we are. I know Dale the engineer. I own some microphones, and you guys are driving from Framingham and from Cape Cod. To my right, Paul Nardizzi, comedian and former winner of, did you ever get Employee of the Month anywhere, Paul?
That's got to be a strong no.
Okay, never mind. Former winner of, did you win anything? Oh, you won the Boston Comedy Festival.
Yeah, I did.
You ever win anything else?
I won another competition called Aspen Comedy Arts.
Aspen Comedy Arts?
Yeah.
You won that?
It was a contest to get out into the actual festival.
Was it in Colorado? Was it like Aspen, West
it was in
Virginia?
Boston.
Yeah,
but I'm saying that was to get out.
Oh, to get to the Aspen.
And I won we talked last week when I went to Buffalo because we won the States. That was me. That was on that team. We won.
Okay, so you're a winner. So when people say you're a winner, they're not being sarcastic.
Yeah, but then I quickly turn it on its head. Like I'm a winner, and then I'm punching myself in the nose, and I look like a loser.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Punching yourself in the nose to make yourself look fierce.
So I'm a semi-winner. How's that?
You're right. Yeah. And Jim Ruberti.
I'm a loser all the time. I'll save you some time.
Okay, thank you. I'm Dave Rattigan, comedian and journalist and college professor, and a man who owns microphones. And here we are. We got 4 things to talk about today, guys, on Soccerheads New England. First, we'll talk about goalkeepers. And Paul, I think now is a good time to mention that co-host Jim Ruberti is a goalkeeper and still in the record books at UMass Boston. Fewest hours in class, most burgers eaten, ugliest feet. Also, Xavi, is that how you pronounce his name?
I texted you how to pronounce it. Xavi.
Xavi.
Yeah.
Xavi. I don't always read what you send me. Xavi. He's the latest star who is going to become a coach for Barcelona. And does the idea of the star player as coach still, or does it work? Because we've seen plenty of cases where it didn't work. You're going to argue that in other sports it doesn't work, but in soccer it does. And then I guess we're also going to ask, what kind of a name is Xavi? Xavi. We'll talk about the MLS playoffs, which don't start until nearly 2 weeks after the end of the regular season. What's the deal with that? And finally, the high school tournament starts this week here in Massachusetts. And if it doesn't start this week, it starts weeks around here in other New England states. What can the tournament mean to a college student's or to a player's college aspirations? And what makes some schools contenders year after year after year, and some schools not?
Cheating.
And those are our 4 topics. But first, plugs. Soccerheads New England is sponsored by financial advisor Rick Spencer. Rick's been speaking to parents at free seminars for soccer clubs, youth leagues, and the public for years. He'll help your kid get into college, and not just if they're a soccer player. To have Rick come speak to your club, team, league, or group, or to check out one of his free seminars in your area, call him at 978-857-7573. Rick is also my financial advisor, and I can testify, therefore, that if not for Rick, the only way I could pay for college for my daughter would be to take another job as a cat burglar, which would have been tough because I'm afraid of heights.
Has Rick, by the way, legally changed his last name, the S to a $? Because he should. He's that good.
He's that good.
Yeah.
He left the last S off for savings.
Yes.
All right, good. Also, if your soccer league team or club needs to raise money and you want to have a great time doing it, you should hire the Soccerheads Experience. More than a comedy show, it's an event that your community will never forget. Email Jim Ruberti at soccerheadsnewengland@gmail.com to get the ball rolling on the Soccerheads Experience. Those were those plugs. How was your week, guys? Jim, you missed us? You were gone. Did you miss us?
No, I did think of you when I was looking at all the down dead trees in the ground. I thought of both of you. And no, it was a tough week down on Cape Cod. We literally lost the entire Cape with power. But you know what's great about a storm like that?
We should mention something that you work for the utilities.
Well, here's the difference, though, between all the other sports and soccer. You could have a storm like that and still have a soccer game the next day. It's very rare that you have a field with trees on it to prevent you from playing a soccer game. You know, football, you're going to have some issues. Hockey, the rink won't have any ice because it'll be melted because there's no power, right?
The beauty again of soccer.
The beauty, once again, that you miss.
Wow, I did miss that one.
Yeah, I knew
you don't need to pump the ball up. You don't need any electricity. Just
that's it.
Put the needle in.
You don't even have to do your laundry.
Inflate it up.
Throw a pair of shorts on and off you go, Dave.
Well, this is great.
So, but anyway.
I'll write that down just for when somebody asks me what's the great thing about soccer, and I'll say,
well, next time there's a big storm,
if there's a natural disaster, it's great.
Next time there's a big storm and you're looking for something to do, you know there's a soccer game around there. You can't go to these other sports.
No.
I'll be like, hey, we had the hurricanes came through. Oh, look it. Those are the commercial agriculturists kicking a soccer ball. What do you want? Oh, let's start with goalkeepers.
Yeah, I like how you said, let's talk about goalies, and we go right to Paul.
Yeah, all right, we'll go right to all right, well, listen, here's the thing.
Because Paul saves a lot of balls in his life. That I know. But not on a soccer field.
I don't know anything about goaltending, actually.
Hold on.
I really don't.
We got to wait for the edit for that one. Okay. And then we'll go. All right, so anyway, let's talk about goalkeepers first. Paul, what do you think?
Why don't we let Jim? Jim was a goalie. Yeah. And honestly, I don't know anything about goalie. Like, I watch soccer games, and I'll come up and I'll say, I can't believe they didn't win. They should have scored twice there, and it would have been. And someone will say, well, the goalie screwed up. And I'll be like, really? And they'll tell me why. And I'm like, oh, because I don't see it the way they do, because I'm not a goalie. I see it completely different.
Well, you'd be committing to the ball, right?
Things like that.
No. There's a whole different thing. And you're 100% right. When I watch goals in soccer, and I'll put on, like, Messi's top goals of the week, that's all I do is critique the goalie.
Yeah.
Had he stayed on his line, had he took one more step to his left, that ball wasn't going in.
Yep.
Had he trusted his defenders to actually stay in the wall, that ball would have
Were there enough people in the wall?
Were there enough people in the wall?
Yeah.
I mean, it's my big thing with the goalie. I think I mentioned it in a few podcasts ago. You got to stay on your line, and when you watch all the goals that go in, you will find that the goalie is not on his line. And
what do you mean? What do you mean on his line?
Standing on. The closer you are to your goal line,
the more time you have.
Not only do you have more time, the better angles you have to get to the ball. You're all of a sudden, if you're tall, you could actually, I could almost reach the crossbar standing on my goal line.
Okay.
The minute you start walking out or going out, now the ball can go over your hand, and the way they can bend and move the ball nowadays, it's staying on your line is critical. And
I mean, you have to come off on a breakaway or things like that, but you have to know when to come off your line.
Correct. So when we were trained back in the day, Dave, like you said, attacking the ball.
Yeah.
That's true. Does two things. One is when you attack the ball, it's now limiting the angle because you're charging at the player.
Yep.
And if you don't think a player knows when a goalie's coming at him, they know.
Yep.
Because they know the goalie's not going to stop and it's going to hurt. Yep. So a lot of times they'll release the ball early.
Yeah.
And then the other thing we used to say is get large, meaning when you charge.
Hold on, because go ahead.
I took that to task because I got in my 50s. But
I'm not talking about that.
I've got large.
The coach didn't tell you to keep getting large.
Right. It's supposed to stop after the game, but in my case, it never did.
So get large.
So getting large means, and you'll see the goalies when they come out, their arms are wide, their legs are wide, and they're trying to cover as much of the net as they're. Like I would do a much better job of it now,
right?
Than I did with my 20s,
except for the charging part.
Except for the charging part, it would be more like lumbering.
You should actually tell your coach, I'm starting to get the hang of it. Look at me.
It's already large. Maybe you should let some PSI up, Jim. But attacking the goalie. So what we would say is time the last touch. Time the last touch. So when the guy's coming after you with a soccer ball, he's coming to the net. The time you want to charge is when they kick the ball last.
Okay,
you're watching their feet.
Yeah.
Because the feet's going to determine everything. Don't look at their eyes. Don't look at their waist. Look at their feet.
Yeah.
They're going to give you the feet are going to indicate the angle they're going to shoot at. What foot they use, you can tell. And by the way they move their foot left and right, where's the ball going to go? And you're just trying to attack it.
So you do it right. You do it right before the break, right before they break to shoot, or as they're coming down.
Once you know they're behind your last defender and they have a clear breakaway, you're timing exactly what you're going to charge out of your net.
Right, but do you charge when you think they're going to kick, or do you when you think they're going to shoot, or do you charge when you saying the last time it hits they kick it?
Their last dribble.
Yeah.
Their dribble. You want to time the dribble. So the last time their foot actually touches the ball and goes in front of them is when you want to make that charge. Because then they have to make a decision. What am I going to do now? I'm in a full sprint. I just kicked the ball ahead of me. You want them to take the shot then. You don't want them to try to dribble wide. You don't want them to try to flick over. You want them to just panic and blast the ball. Now, through college, that works a lot.
Yep.
But when you're in the pros now,
they can dance a little bit.
They can dance a little bit.
They can dance a little more, right?
And what they're really good at is chip shots.
Okay.
So you got to be careful when you charge. You don't want to go too early and leave your line once again, because they'll just pop it right over your head and you'll look really bad.
Can you draw a line just so he understands?
No, I actually understand. I understand the whole concept. But I'll say this: I was lousy in both sports, but as you know, I played goalie at a very low level, and I played hockey at a low level. And I've always found the one thing about playing hockey that was a big advantage for a goalie on a breakaway that you didn't have in soccer is that I always wished that I had a big stick that I could whack the players with, because it worked for me pretty well in hockey.
Well, I think Shivo has a big stick, but it has nothing to do with soccer, but we'll talk about that later. So the same thing, we're talking about Paul, you being a forward, I think if this would be a good conversation to have. You're coming in on me on a breakaway. You probably know as a defender, I'm going to break at you at some point. That I'm not just going to sit back in the net. What goes through your mind coming in on a goalie as a forward?
I can tell you exactly what Paul's thinking. I can tell you exactly what Paul's thinking. Nothing. I know Paul. He's got not a thought in his head.
I'm going to answer that two ways. For the average goalie, what I'm thinking, and for you, because I know that you can't stop PKs, I'm going to try to draw a foul so I can go to the PK spot and go to your 0-16.
That is great strategy.
But I'm trying to dribble really tight, because if I dribble tight, it's hard to see my last touch. Like Messi's little touches are really hard to read. And then what I typically do is I sort of cut my shoulders to make it look like I'm going to this corner and then place it to the other before you get large.
Gotcha.
Just before you really make it really...
Just so everybody knows, we're coming for your legs.
Right. Yeah.
We may give up the goal, but you're not going to score another one the rest of the day. That's how it works. Seriously. That was in the back in the day when, goalies used to be told to own the box, Dave. Not like you on your dates. This is different. You own the goal box. So when there's a group of people in there and there's a corner kick or a direct kick, you as a goalie need to be so aggressive. When you go up for a ball, you lift your knee up. I was trained to lift my knee up to my chest when I would go high for a ball, and there's a reason for that.
Why is that?
One is to protect your body. And the other one is to kick the crap out of a forward who thinks he's going to get the header. So he knows the next time he's not going to be aggressive to the ball when you're screaming, I got it, or my ball, keeper ball. So my whole big thing in college was to own that whole 18-yard box to make sure all these other players knew I was there, and that
the only way they would have scored on you was if they got to the PK.
But you see, you have the advantage because you're the bigger guy. But sometimes the forward's bigger than the goalie.
You would know, but if you remember in the previous podcast, what did you say, Paul, when you saw the goalie that was 6'5"?
I want the big goalie, for sure.
You want the big goalie. Yeah. You want the big, tall, aggressive goalie, because he's going to scare the crap out of these little offensive guys. And
it's like the big fullback.
It's like the big fullback.
It's like the big fullback. But here's the funny thing. You're going this and you're describing, you're like, you got to get big, you got to get big. And I'm looking across at Dale, and I know what he's thinking. Dale, the engineer, he's thinking to himself, this is the same strategy you would use if you were attacked by a bear. So after the show, Dale and I are going to take you out to the woods, find you a bear, and see how your technique works. Anyway, we're going to...
well, let me just make this final point. This is how important goaltending is. If you watch these high school games on live stream, or college games on live stream, right when they get to the shootout, they stop the telecast. Because they know that the other coach is watching the shootout to see how the goalie moves and what side he goes to. And also, look, they're going